I'm Evelyn Culp, interviewing her.
Welcome to Evie's History Bites, hosted by Martha Owen, the Heritage Collection Manager of the ELC Heritage Collection. Welcome to another episode of Evie's History Bites. I'm Martha, your host, and I have another great episode for you this month. I'm joined by board members Mike, Matt, Jeremy, and Lisa from the group 5 Metals, and we sat down and talked about their event on the former Amishakers grounds that's also called 5 Metals. Let's dive straight into our conversation. Thank you all for sitting down with me. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourselves?
Hello, my name is Mike Judson, and I'm retired, a lifelong Elkhart County resident, and we're talking about history tonight and historical reenacting. So I was a history major of all things in college, and so I had a natural interest in these living history events, reenactments that were out in the public, and so I began attending those just as a visitor in the very early 1990s. And then subsequently, as my children began to grow, I got involved with scouting with my son. And one of our scouting outings would be was going to these historical reenactments, and we began to take the scout troop down there, and got to meet some of these people and got very interested, and finally took the leap and started getting gear and equipment and participating in that, and that kind of leads us up to where we are with 5 Metals today.
I am Matt Soltz. I started reenacting in 2022. Started out as flint knapper. Lady reached out to me on Reddit for Fort St. Joseph, and it all kind of started from there. I've more or less been helping out Michael the best I can to keep 5 Metals running and stuff like that. So.
I'm Jeremy Johnson. Grew up out in Chesterton area. Now I'm a Lakeville person. As far as it goes, my wife and I used to go around to different events for probably 10, 11 years. Just visiting and meeting everybody and just finding more and more events out there, and just it's grown from there, and now we've been reenacting for a couple of years now, helping out everybody over here.
And I'm Lisa Stewart. Mike and I have a couple of through lines here. I'm also retired, spent a working career in business and manufacturing, but Mike has me beat. He was a history major. I was a history minor. so obviously for me it's always been a hobby, but very true that I've always been interested within history and how people live. I didn't care as much about the political or the military history, but I was always fascinated by how people live. And our family started attending a few reenactments. There was one that my father-in-law was involved with them on a logistics side. He was never in period dress, but he helped with the grounds. He helped with the staging, and so we would always go. And when my daughter was in 4th grade, she looked at me and said, "Mom, this is fun, let's do it." And I, being either brave or crazy, said sure. We borrowed a couple of period wedge tents from a coworker of my husband's. We started at one event the first year. The second year we said, yeah, let's do this. There's another little one near us. We went to that one, and for a number of years continued to add an event a year until we finally said, well, maybe we've hit our max, as our daughter was getting older and involved in all sorts of other activities at school. 5 Metals, the predecessor of it, was one of the events we got to be involved with from day one. And Mom, this is fun, let's do it, was 22 years ago, so I've done it for a few years.
Martha, if I could tagline that a little bit, this world of living history or reenacting that we reside in as our hobbies, it's a pretty big world, and most folks that are involved will travel well out of state. We'll go into Kentucky, Tennessee, Virginia, quite a number of places. Ohio has a number of events, so there's a lot of road time involved with this also. We get to meet a lot of people.
All right. Sounds like fun. And I will say, I was a history major, so I didn't want to be a teacher.
High five. I didn't either.
All right. So who was Chief Five Medals?
Well, I guess I'm up on that one as well to field that one. He was a local but very prominent Potawatomi chief here in Elkhart County, and the best we can tell, he probably moved into the area from Michigan, the Detroit area, about 1790, and then died in 1828 or 1829. And his name, it's weird because we've named our event Five Medals, and everybody, it's an unknown. What is this Five Medals? What's it mean? Is it a person? Is it a thing? And his name was actually Wanangasea, and that translates to either five medals or five coin. And when I say prominent, he would have been involved with all of the area chiefs, either Miami, Potawatomi, perhaps Kickapoo, some Shawnee that were in this area, and predominantly Little Turtle out of the Fort Wayne area. Topinabe was the main chief in present-day St. Joe County, Indiana, St. Joe County, Michigan, and the Pokagons actually succeeded Topinabe as the leaders of that particular band. White Pigeon, which we're all familiar with that name, Pierre Moran, we're familiar with that name. These were all very active leaders in the Native American villages in this area. Five Medals had the opportunity to meet President Washington and President Jefferson. He knew William Henry Harrison quite well. He'd known him for probably 30 years of his life. And so it's just quite a story of his life, and we grabbed a hold of that to honor him in naming our event. And so hopefully you'll plug this later as well, but here at the Nappanee Center on March 19 at 6:30, there'll be a very comprehensive presentation of the life and times of Five Medals. So I hope your local listeners will come on over for that.
Oh, nice. And there's no such thing as Princess Mishawaka, right?
There is no such person as Princess Mishawaka, at least that we can figure out. So.
I think that's one of my favorite things. And Chief Five Medals is also buried locally. Well, we assume that he's buried locally.
Just doing, this is one of those things where in my research I haven't hit on anything specific that documents that he's buried here, but everything points to the fact that he is, or to the theory that he is. And actually, we've got it pinpointed on the map pretty well where that is.
Nice. So you named your event Five Medals. So can you just give us a little bit of history about that?
As far as the history of the event?
Yeah.
Sure. And sorry, I'm dominating the conversation here, but I guess I'm the guy that's been here since day one, I guess. So for me personally, I was working with the Elkhart County Historical Museum, and I think was still on the board of directors with them at this point, and got to know the director of the museum, a man named Nick Huffman. You remember Nick, right?
Yep.
And Nick also had a background in historical reenacting, and I'd been at it for about 10 years at that point. And one day we said, we need to make an event. We need to do something. And so Nick got permission from the town of Bristol to use the park behind the museum, and we started this little event behind the museum named
Flintlock and Tomahawk.
Right. And so we ran that for 2 seasons, and we outgrew the footprint. And the County Parks Department was led by Dan Seltenwright back at that time in 2009. The Parks Department graciously took this on as a project and offered one of their park locations for the event, and that was the beautiful River Preserve area, the Benton Dam area of that. So that event ran through 2019 at Benton, and I believe, and I honestly I don't know all of the details about it, but I know that there was some concern. There was some concern. We've been out there for 10 years. There was some concern about environmental impact on the natural prairie lands and woodlands out there, and so that, along with some other things, probably. The Parks Department elected to close the event, and actually not a minute too soon because we all know what happened in 2020. So then, but during the year 2020, there was a group of us got together and decided to form a 501c3 nonprofit and actually take an ownership role with this event. And so that kind of put us into a new chapter. And we held the event for 4 seasons at Stone's Trace in Ligonier, Noble County, and had a great time over there. It's a wonderful location, but again, we grew and grew, and logistics became a problem for us, and we started a search for a new location and landed here in Nappanee, and it was just a wonderful decision, and it's been a great experience for us. So that's kind of the history of the event. I would actually be curious to hear Lisa jump in on that because when we started the small event in Bristol, she and her husband were among the very first participants, so she has been a participant for all these years.
Happy to. The same folks that we borrowed the tents from when we first started had been involved in reenacting for many years and knew Mike. And I think Mike had reached out to them as a part of the original organization, and Gary and Ann said, "Hey, we've got this. There's this new event, and you could get in on the ground floor. You could be there for the first year." So we said, "Yeah, sure." That was actually the year that we had taken the plunge and bought our own tent. So we happily pitched our tent at Flintlock and Tomahawk behind the museum, kind of put our backs to the lights on the basketball court there. And that was a year that had been a drought summer, and that weekend the heavens opened. We were actually really happy that we were in Bristol and not on the other side of the river in Michigan, because up in Michigan they got 7 inches overnight of rain, and I think we only got about 4. But it
was damp.
Yeah, it was damp. But from the first year, one of the characteristics of this event has always been the remarkable degree to which everyone who is there just loves knowing and explaining and being the history that they're involved with. That there is this attitude of education, but not like a history lecture in school. It was just very immersive, very much. It was just real. It was just people there doing living history, literally doing that, living history. And so the first year, as Mike said, a small group, and it grew. We've been travelers with the event through the various locations, and being now in Nappanee, I kind of liken the event to being growing kids in a family. That we were under the auspices of the Elkhart Historical Society. We were in a variety of places, and then when we formed the 501c3, it was like we got the keys to the car, and landing in Nappanee, we're now and have been a full-fledged grown-up adult. We've grown up. We've taken ownership of our own event, and it's really great to have found a home here.
Awesome. I feel like I've been a little remiss too, Martha, and I don't think we really explained what we do.
Yeah, I don't think you did.
And, so we're talking about history and reenacting. So yes, we're reenacting a lifestyle from an earlier time period, mainly in the colonial era of America. And so we're demonstrating all these occupations, all the things that people had to do on a daily basis to live their lives like we do today, only it was 250 years ago. And we're demonstrating. And through that demonstration, we're educating. And the education is the top priority of our nonprofit's mission statement. And by doing that, we're preserving our history. And so, we invite folks to come out, and you're just going to see all kinds of neat things happening at this event: woodworking and tinsmithing and blacksmithing, and there'll be oxen and equestrian and cannons and flintlock rifles and just everything that goes with it. There'll be food vendors, and so we're again with kind of touting our educational presence. Our Friday is actually closed to the public, but it is open for school systems. And already for this year, should I say the number? Already for this year, we have over 1,000 students and educators registered to attend our Friday program. It is a wow.
And just to clarify, school systems and homeschool.
Okay.
And parochial.
Yeah,
And
you don't
parochial.
have to be walking through the doors of a building just to be able to come on
Right.
Friday.
So we feel blessed with the amazing response that's come from the region and especially this community. But we in return want to be a blessing on them with what we bring.
And I thought that 61 second graders in the museum is a lot.
We have the advantage of being outside, so the decibel levels just kind of float into the air.
Yeah.
But yeah,
We
it's,
had
it's a
1,000
lot.
last year, and it fit really well on the site. We had plenty of, I think everybody had plenty of room, and so yeah.
I think it also helps that we allow the kids to kind of free range a little bit, so they can pick and choose what they want to look at, and whatever might interest them, they can kind of hone in on it and spend more time there if they so desire. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. All right. So you mentioned that it's the colonial time period that you cover. So, like, what years would that be?
So the years that we cover are 1750 to 1815, which picks up the French and Indian War, Revolutionary War, and the War of 1812. And we also welcome the La Salle period, which is the French voyageurs, 1650 and earlier. So that is kind of our nuts and bolts area.
Okay. So that kind of would cover, if you're thinking about going back to the Chief 5 medals, if you're thinking about the history of that, that's when the Miami would have been in this area, correct? And then
Yes.
the Iroquois came in and pushed them all out, and then the Potawatomi moved in after
The
that.
Iroquois presence was what they called the Beaver Wars, which was about 100-year time span from roughly 1600 to 1700. But the crux of it was about mid-century, and yeah, they made a hard push west, and that pushed the Potawatomi south and the Miami further south. But during our time period, the Iroquois have receded back to the east, and you've got your Miami primarily around the Fort Wayne area, and the Potawatomi are up here along the Elkhart and St. Joe River area. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, there's obviously other reenactment events out there. We also have Connor Prairie, which is a big reenactment place in our state, and then there's other reenactment places like on the East Coast and things like that. But what makes 5 medals different from other reenactments?
You want me to do that one?
Yeah.
So what makes 5 medals a little bit different than other events is we have a little bit tighter, strict dress code policy for a lot of the reenactors. We try to tuck and hide away as much modern as humanly possible, and it's a really immersive experience. We do our best at doing that. There are other events that do that. Miss Cinema 1812 does a good job. and stuff like that. But that's kind of what we're trying to do, and we really do put a lot of effort into Student Day and making sure that we have a lot of really good quality demonstrators. Jeremy has a lot more experience with various reenactments he visits. So do you have anything you would like to add, good sir?
Well, as far as it goes, it's just, you see more of a civilian base than military at our event in comparison to, Mississinawa and so forth like that. It's nice to be able to walk through and actually realize that, you could be seeing something that was done the exact way or, very close. So it's nice to be able to walk through and just see that and enjoy and talk to the people. So everybody's more than willing to talk.
Yeah, I think that. So I have two different items I think that strike me about this event, and one is just that the people, everyone who is involved in the event, everyone who is a participant, is there and ready and willing to talk to anyone who comes through. There's, like I said, there's this base of just love of presenting history come to life and a real desire to talk with people. I think sometimes people coming through might be a little bit shy about talking. It's like, no, just talk to us. And the other item that ties into that is the size of the event. We're large enough to have a really lovely range of participants, to have a really lovely range of skills that you can see. Mike gave a list of tinsmithing and flint napping and starting fire without matches. Matches had not yet been invented by this time period. Sewing, and cannons and militia. Oh my, yes, absolutely. So we're large enough to have this great range of things to explore. And if you have, if someone's really interested in the military side, yeah, there's definitely a group of military, and there's definitely some good, not just one, but a good sampling of that. If you're like me and you kind of go, oh yeah, they're playing with their toys over there, and you're much more interested in the way that people live, or the way that women worked, for example, there's all of that. But we're also not so huge that you get lost, either literally or just in terms of, okay, who have I seen, who have I not seen? Oh my goodness, there's still 18 more places to go, and I've got 25 minutes. So it's just, I think it's a great size.
You won't get lost, but you will get tired. But you won't get hungry because we will have food vendors there.
Oh, nice.
To be outside.
And the root beer stand.
And we'll have a root beer stand.
Are they like period food vendors?
Yeah, this year we've got our food vendors coming in. Will be, and they're all cleared with the health department, but they'll be preparing at their camps, and there'll be a period, mostly period recipes. And we will have, that's another one of these great demonstrations. We've got an individual that is like bar none culinary expert, and he's actually published 2 cookbooks using Martha Washington's recipe and whoever it might be, and he is a delight to talk to and learn about that.
Yeah, very nice. We had one time we had a volunteer who would find recipes in like the late 1800 newspapers and then make them and then bring them in for us to taste test. So that was always interesting because you never knew what you were going to get.
Some of them you thought, oh, can I get the recipe? And some you thought, how did you think this was edible?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't their skill, it was the recipe.
Yeah, it was the recipe because they use stuff that we don't tend to use today. Yeah. All right, so this question just popped into my head. So what is the difference between reenactments and Renaissance fairs?
Originally, I'll show my age here. Originally, Renaissance fairs were a reenactment. They were a reenactment of Renaissance life, and specifically, if you go back into that time period in Europe, commerce happened when groups of merchants and groups of vendors of various things came together for a fair. And so originally a Renaissance fair was just that. It was a reenactment of market days in the town square in Renaissance Europe. Pick your country, pick your location. Over the time, over the decades, they were a victim of their own success a little bit. That they tended then to add layers of oh, well, wouldn't it be nice to kind of add this, and oh, this is fun, and maybe it's not terribly authentic, but yeah, okay. And so now you get to a Renaissance fair where you have people selling tie-dyed polyester clothing, but it happens to be cut in a style that looks kind of vaguely Renaissance. There still are some very, very rigorously accurate Renaissance gatherings, but generally when you talk about a Renaissance fair, it grew out of a reenactment, but it's added more modern commercial carnival layers to it. Is
A
that
bit more fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's gone down the fantasy realm too.
Another distinction I think of is at whatever level of authenticity they're working at, it is still it's a European thing that existed well before America was colonized, and so
1500s.
Right. So it's where what we're doing is trying to capture and recreate the American experience.
Okay. Nice. So when someone comes through the gate, is there a cost to your event?
Yes.
Okay. So when somebody pays and comes through the gate at your event, like, what can they expect when they're attending?
They can expect to be outside. I mean, this is stating the obvious, perhaps, but come prepared to be outside. We are rain or shine. We will be there.
We will be there.
We will be there. If it is raining and you have galoshes and a good poncho and you feel adventuresome, come anyway. It's a great time to just come and talk with people. But so outside, I think we try with the layout to be thoughtful, but there is walking involved. You're walking on grassy areas primarily. Expect to see a variety of camps. Just if you think about a campground, we are a Revolutionary era campground in a sense. I mean, that's just kind of the visual that you see.
Wood and canvas.
Yeah.
Wood and canvas. Is what
And
you see.
iron.
Wood, canvas, iron. Yeah.
And
It's a great opportunity to have a very relaxing, leisurely day in a completely unique environment that a lot of people have never experienced, or if they have, they've fallen in love with it, and oh my goodness, we get to come back again and see it. And virtually each camp has got something going on, something interesting, and you're perfectly free to stop and spend 20 minutes, or perfectly free to keep walking, whatever it is. And I guess we should say logistically, so we are at the farm next door to Amish Acres, and it's pretty flat terrain for the most part. So certainly wheelchair accessible, and we'll have benches placed around the camp this year, so if folks just need a moment to sit down and rest, they'll have a spot very close by. Our food area is strategically laid out for that purpose, to get something nice to eat and be able to sit down.
So your event, you're at the farm. So is it kind of like around the pond, or is it more in the orchard at the farm, or like logistically, where is it?
It's primarily around the farm.
Okay.
And then it's in the it is gonna be at the bottom of the hill, on the opposite side of the blacksmith shop, and then around the pond, and then on the right, in that right field, is that east
Yeah.
field,
East.
and then to the east, and then our battlefield be on the north side of the property.
Okay.
I think that's generally what we're going to be doing for this year.
All right. And I just, another question just popped into my head. So it is our nation's birthday. It is a pretty big one. It's 250. So are you guys doing anything special for the 250th?
Why, yes, we are. First of all, we have to toot our own horn here a little bit. I think this just popped up finally this Monday of this week. If you get on the Indiana's America 250 website, and you'll see the state map, and the darker colored counties are those that have events posted for that county. You can click on the county, and it'll pop up a list of the events. We are on the Elkhart County site, and so if you click on the Elkhart County on that map, 5 medals will pop right up for you. So we're just proud of that, of being representing Elkhart County to the state of Indiana. And so we've got two things basically to try to celebrate, and maybe a better term is recognize the foundation of our country. One, we're going to do a living painting. We're going to recreate the Trumbull's painting of the committee that wrote the Declaration of Independence as they present it to the President of the Continental Congress, John Hancock. So we're going to have folks, it won't be perfect to the painting, but it'll be close, and we're going to recreate that scene and engage the public. It'll be a great photo op for folks that come by. And the second thing we'll do is take our battle scenario, and we'll recreate something that's similar to a battle that took place during the Revolutionary War. And so we've got one in mind that's kind of secret at the moment, so I can't. But
You'll have to come and check it out.
Absolutely.
And then on background, I think as people come and engage the various reenactors in our camps, a lot of us, depending upon the event and the timing, will sometimes portray the Revolutionary era or the War of 1812.
Right.
We're all focusing as much as we can on portraying and discussing and talking about, whatever slice of life we are involved with, framing that in terms of life in the U.S. in the late 1700s, in the 1770s. I actually go as a merchant. I make things that people would have made in their own home, and then I offer them for sale, but I'll also teach you how to do it. One of the things that I get involved with are, quote, sweet herbs, which we would think now is herbal teas. And you can do a really lovely rant about how I will not drink tea anymore because, I won't pay the taxes. And it's not a lecture, but it's simply a part of the way I will be engaging the public. And I know that a lot of other people will just kind of pull that connection. So again, learning the history of Revolutionary era United States from the inside, from the perspective of people, how they lived.
I should also add, and I forgot to add this earlier, we also focus predominantly east of the Mississippi River. So we try to stay away from the Western influence and your Hollywood version of what maybe a native would have looked like, or a cowboy. We try to stay away from the Buck Skinner era. Not that there's anything wrong with that, it's just not what we are shooting for in our particular event. So that's also another thing that you might see that's a little bit different.
All right. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is reenactors, as you said, you guys are close to the time period as possible, but you're also transporting yourselves back into the time period, and you're not knowing about cell phones, about Facebook, about anything social media. The Indiana Historical Society does this really well with their living experiences, where a guy was like, oh, where are you from? And we're like, oh, South Bend area. And he's like, oh, Studebaker? I just bought myself a Studebaker. So I don't think people realize that you guys transport yourself back in time to be like these people where you're not going to use slang words or anything like that.
We do our best.
Certainly try.
Well, and so I've seen numerous reenactors that do a great job. They'll become horrified when a visitor takes out their cell phone.
It's
that's
witchcraft.
the devil's device. It's witchcraft. And yeah. And so it's fun. It is really fun to engage your visitors with that type of
Unfortunately, I am guilty. People ask me where I get my rock when I do my Nappanee. I get it offline. That's the truth, and I'm trying to help them get what they need.
Yeah.
And then you said that, and I was like, oh crap. I try so hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of us will try to be what you would call first person, being in that time period, but also step out to third person so that you can, help the people who we're talking to engage and understand the differences. With the kids, I'm usually third person because I'm going to talk with them about, well, how do you get your clothes, and this, and then this is, and provide those contacts, those point of contact.
I will say I went and talked to fifth graders one time, and it didn't click with me until after I left because they asked, how did you do your homework in the 1900s? And I'm like, oh, like they had this and this. And it's like, when I left, I was like, they didn't want to know the early 1900s. They wanted to know my 1900s.
which for them is like the early 1900s.
Yeah.
That's mean.
Yeah. All right. So what does the future look like for Five Metals? You guys have a bigger space. You're, growing. So what does the future look like?
Well, we're hoping for continued growth and longevity, and being able to just continue the event for years to come the best we can. Hopefully, with the support of Nappanee and the public in Nappanee and local areas.
Build on
As I said before, we really try to do a lot for the students. I think that's the biggest takeaway from our event is what we do for the kids. I didn't do any reenactments when I was young because I didn't know they existed. And had I known, I think this would be a completely different situation here. No, it's really hoping for continued growth and success and longevity and continuing to make these connections.
Talking about the history, there's been this great base established, and as you just said, growing, building from that, becoming enmeshed in the fabric of Nappanee.
Absolutely.
This has been a great place to be, and we're some of us are playing with the wild idea of maybe doing a little pop-up history in the park sometime.
Oh, nice.
But just little things like that. To not just be just this one weekend and we're just this special group that comes, and to be a place where the next fourth grader, the next 10-year-old will say, "Hey, this is fun. Let's do it." Yeah, as you said, because it really is engaging. It's really fun. On Saturday and Sunday to see how many kids who came on school day come back with their families and are narrating to their parents or to their siblings, oh yeah, this is what, and they'll start to give the story of how do you start fire without a match, or how do you how do you play this children's game.
Yeah, that's what our kids that come through here on field trips, when they bring back their parents or siblings, you hear them giving our tours to them. So you're like, oh, they were listening to us.
Yeah. So
And I also, another question just popped into my head as well. So I'm so sorry. But you guys always had when you were with the Elkhart County Parks, you always had your event in October. So what made you change it to May?
That's a great question. And there's, when you talk about this world of living history, it truly is a whole other world. And there's a lot of other events out there. and there's a lot of other event coordinators and committees, and they're making these decisions, and they're doing things to better their own event, and sometimes we bump into each other. And that's basically what happened. October got very crowded with events, and we had bumped in to a couple other events. And secondly, at the time we were at Stone's Trace, and they have their huge fall event in September, and we were only 6 weeks after that. And a lot of the same people participated in both events, so that we were feeling some real pressure from that. And I was one of those people that was exhausted from the fall event, and so we just made a determination at that point. May was pretty open in the world of reenacting, and we still were inside that perimeter rather of being able to get the schools in. That was job one, was we've got to be during the school year to do that, and so that was the impetus behind that move.
And we like being outside, but February just wasn't an
Yeah.
option.
Yeah, no, February is
There's
not
June.
an option. And June and July tend to be a little bit too hot.
But and again, primarily students. Students are out of school at that point.
Right.
yeah.
We that really is a focus. That it's not just, oh, we do this event on the weekend and yeah, we have the school day over here. That's the heart and soul of what and who Five Metals Living History is that interaction, that being that place of accessible history and experiential learning for students.
Very nice. So I have one last question, and it's not something that I gave you. It was another question that I thought of while we're sitting here talking, because that's what I do. I think of more stuff while we talk. But is there anything that you want to add before I ask my last question that we might have not touched on?
This is the sound of people looking at each other.
I think I'm pretty happy with everything so far, right?
You've covered about everything that I would have said. So
All right.
Well, we have a website, and we have a email, 5metals1812@gmail.com. So if someone has a question, fire away at us. We will respond.
We're always looking for more demonstrators. We're looking for more participants. We would love to fill out that property to the gills if possible.
Which is a pretty big property when you come down to really all of it, especially the farmland and woods that's behind where you
Right,
guys
yeah.
are to the north. So you kind of answered my question already, but how can people get involved if they want to?
Come to the event, and come to the event. And as Lisa was talking about, just speak with folks and reach out to us through our portals on Facebook or the website. And that makes us happier than anything, I think, is to be able to share and give you places to contact to start working through and getting your outfitting put together, get your camp put together.
Yeah.
But come to the event and talk to the folks and ask those questions.
Because every one of us started sometime.
Yes,
Yeah.
we did.
Right?
Yeah.
Some of us had the advantage of getting to kind of piggyback and learn from people already doing it, but every one of us, and there's a range of time. There's a timeline here around this table today.
So I can kind of add to that with my own personal story. I started doing this in 2022, and I was doing the Pioneer Festival, and a lot of the guys from Stone's Trace Regulators were coming over, and they're like, "What are you doing over here? You should be over here with us." And so then it turned into this over the course of a few months, I was setting up camp for Stone's Trace Regulators in the next 5 Metals in May the next year.
Yeah, right.
And I was able to get in contact with the president of the time, Alan, and then Mike, and they both were fantastic mentors for getting what's going on. And I say that, I bring these two guys to attention, but almost every reenactor that you're going to come across will give you the information you need, or they will
Correct,
get
yeah.
you to the person to get the information.
Yeah, we are not a secret society. You do not have to have the handshake before we will give you information.
I mean this with all of my heart. I have not met a reenactor I didn't like. They have all been extremely warm and kind and friendly. And I don't, even the grumpiest of fellows,
Settle down.
they're pretty decent guys. And I love everyone in it. It's so awesome.
But
And,
it's, just some general practice, I think, too, for folks that are intrigued with this and wondering, a good place to start is just kind of define what time period has struck you as the most interesting. And then start digging into that on what things look like.
And we'll recommend books.
And you don't have to.
You don't have to read the books.
Don't decide you want to be Daniel Boone or George Washington, because boy, that is a tough assignment. Just a normal citizen of the day, and go from there. So.
Yeah.
Step one, come to 5 medals.
That sounds like a plan. I'm really excited to attend this year. I always wanted to attend, but October was always busy because we have a semi-living history event that we do in October called Night at the Museum. It's just like the movie, except for we don't have Rexy or a Pachucan monkey running around.
Do you need some folks dressed out in period attire hanging around?
We might. We're this year is about the Coppice family because they celebrate 150. So we're not even in planning stages yet for that. Well, we're getting there.
Is the library's going to do something out at the event, aren't they? At 5
Yeah. So the ELC Heritage Collection staff will be out there. So me and Jennifer will be out there hanging out in period clothing. We'll bring out our pelts that we have and talk about the ELC Heritage Collection. And it's really because of you guys that we're sitting in this room that's being remodeled for an exhibit called Before Nappanee Stories of the Land, because you guys really inspired us, especially Matt, with your help with our arrowheads and things like that, to make what we thought to be a temporary exhibit into a permanent exhibit. And really dig down deep into what this land was before the railroad came through and really before they decided to build a town here. So thank you all. I'm really glad that we stumbled into this partnership.
So are we.
Yep, so are we. Thanks for having us over tonight.
Yeah, well, thank you again. Well, that's all that I have for this episode. A huge thank you to Mike, Matt, Jeremy, and Lisa for being my guests this month. And next month, Jeannie Folk will be my guest and we'll be talking about antiques. But before you go, be sure to subscribe to this podcast, hit like, or leave us a comment.